Is that just his or is that just his microphone? Is that all? Okay, they're all coming through one.
So we got to tell them.
They're awesome. So they can't all talk to each other. They're super awesome. Do you not have enough cables? Or?
No, they wireless.
Okay.
He knows I got the power. I don't need it.
That's just what I'm wondering.
Classroom voice.
If you're feeling left out or special.
Never left out.
This is a light, which is okay. I'm sure it's our trial run.
I'd be happy with one person.
I'm not. You know, I'm not a public speaker.
Captain? Good.
Hi, Dave.
All right. Everybody grab a seat. We'll get started. So before we get started with the Pledge of Allegiance, welcome everybody. All I ask tonight is go easy on me. I've got really big shoes to fill, but she's sitting to the left. So if it gets out of control, I'm just going to defer and say, Pat, what do we do now? But no, welcome everybody. She is right-handed. Yeah.
I
asked
planned
her.
that.
I asked her how many times she used a gavel, and she said once, and there's a couple people in the room. So no, actually, I think Pat, you used it a couple times. So hopefully we won't ever have to use it. But in any event, let's stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance to get started. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so before I jump into the president's report, this is something that the whole board reviewed because I'm kind of speaking on behalf of everybody. And if I would have put the entire verbiage in here, we wouldn't have surprised Pat tonight. So when you see the president's report, we'll add some copy into it. But as I mentioned, I'm filling some pretty big shoes, and I'm honored to do that. And thank everybody for their support. And I'll share a couple stories for those of you that may be newer to the community. Pat's been in the president's role for 9 years.
It seems like that, but it's only been
8. Let's call it 9. We round it up. And she tells the story about Bill Acker, who was the president at the time, said, Pat, I think you need to be president, and it kind of needs to start tomorrow. And off he went. No preparation, no documents, no nothing. So she was kind enough to make sure that didn't happen again. And she literally provided me a 12-month calendar on everything that she does every single month. And my reaction was, oh my God, we had no idea. So for everybody in the community that's been here a long time, those that have not been here very long, we probably don't appreciate over that 9-year period of time what she's done. And there's folks in this room that were past presidents that do understand it. So we owe her a tremendous amount of gratitude. She operates with a ton of grace. What you may not know is she can be tough when needed. And obviously in this community, that's probably beneficial. And one of my favorite stories is when she was at Procter & Gamble for many years, her nickname was the Velvet Hammer. So if you've never seen that side of Pat, I think you should go hang out with her so she can bring that out, because she balances grace and that Velvet Hammer. And I've spent 3 years learning a lot. from her. Lots of phone calls, lots of conversations. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? What if we did this? And she was always gracious to take those calls. So I thought it was appropriate. We've got a nice crowd. We've got folks that are online, but I don't want to say too much because she's pretty modest. But if you would all join me, I think we all owe her a standing ovation for 9 years.
Thank you. It has been a labor of love, and we have an exceptional board, and I know that Scott will do an excellent job, and I look forward to serving with him for the next 2 years. Thank you again.
Okay, so I've already said good evening. So as we move into the summer sunsets, I know we're all thrilled with that. We welcome everyone that's here tonight in person, everybody that's online. Even post-COVID, when we can officially say that, we'll continue the online piece because we know there are people that have young families, can't get away, they're busy volunteering. And so the reality becomes those are better. So we'll continue to do that. I know everyone's thrilled for Memorial Day weekend with a little bit less restrictions hanging over our heads. I want to do a special shout out, and we've all got those people in our lives that are caregivers, that are educators, parents that have become educators through a very, very challenging year. So we live in the greatest community in this area to get outside and enjoy family and friends again and not have to worry about it quite as much. So surely it's summertime for everybody. I hope you all agree with that. Moving on, we have some new faces on our board that will be providing new ideas, maintaining proven ideas that have worked before, that have come from very smart people, and loads of new energy and passion that you all voted for to be on the board. And I'd like to introduce them. First of all, moving forward, we're going to collaborate as best we can and work together with positive. I was telling the story upstairs. We all get emotional about stuff because we care. But I know I've been through times in business where things get a little hairy for different reasons. And it's just a really great thing to fall back on, just a positive impact. Most everybody here is either a resident or a volunteer. We have a few paid employees, but for the most part, this is our community. So I would just encourage, give us the benefit of the doubt at times when it doesn't look like we're paying attention. We should do the same thing for you when we don't, maybe not listening well enough. But if everybody assumes positive intent, we can keep getting better. So let me introduce Steve Saveld. Anybody that doesn't know Steve, he's newly elected and serving his first term. He's our member at large. Steve's board liaison responsibility will be safety, security, and elections, and the newly formed Parks Committee. He's also shadowing Dave Hackner on our golf course efforts and leading the architecture processes and the workload that goes with that. Most everybody knows Steve from the Civic Club, so you know he's got tons of energy that he brings every day, and we're super excited. We've loaded him up with a bunch of stuff to get involved in, which he wanted, so he got his wish. Steve, welcome. Anything you want to say real quick?
No, just glad to be on a different side. It's, different view from sitting out there. I did every month and looking forward to making things better.
All right, next, Man in Purple. Jeff, many people know, some don't. He left the community and has come back, so we're blessed with that. He was named to the board based on our election vote count. And as I mentioned, Jeff moved away and has returned to continue his long, proud legacy of serving our community. To me, it's amazing that he got all the votes that he did, having left the community. It was a testimony to the fact that people remember the work that he did, the kind of guy he did, the kind of guy he is. So we're very fortunate with that. Jeff was also a previous board president. As you can probably tell, and I didn't ask him to wear that shirt, but he wears it every time I see him. He's a rabid Elder Panther employee and fan. And it's Jeff's email coming across your screen because it's sponsored in purple. Legitimately purple. He's the only guy I've ever seen use a purple font. But I don't know anybody else from Elder. So.
Oh, they all do.
Okay. Jeff will serve as our treasurer, and he'll have liaison responsibility to Kyle Packer's finance committee. And with the importance for everybody in the community to maintain a strong financial position, expect the entire board to interface more directly with Kyle and his team. We all need to understand what's going on with every single dollar that we contribute. So that'll be an active going And then finally, and I'm really glad they're here because I didn't know that they would both be here back in the back row. I'm going to ask you guys to come up front if you would, Donna and Bob. So as they come forward, I'll get started just for the sake of time. Stand wherever you're comfortable. I would be remiss. I would be remiss on behalf of everybody in the board and many of the people in the room that know these folks well, without thanking these two departing board members, Donna and Bob, who served with us for many years with a strong fiscal responsibility focus, a genuine passion, caring for every homeowner and all that is HVL. And anybody that didn't have the opportunity that I did the last 3 years to learn from everything they said, it's kind of important because there's a lot of experience there. I know they're not going away. I think they're still staying involved in finance, and Donna, right. I'm sure you'll make sure we dot the I's and cross the T's, which we can always count on. So we want to thank them, and just like we did for Pat, let's give them a standing ovation. If you guys would like to say anything, please do. From that side. You're fine. Okay. All right. Thank you. So in the spirit of time and to keeping everybody informed, let me share a few thoughts and some key action items as we have kind of hit the ground running as a group. Under the hands-on board leadership with Dave Patrick from our right, we're continuing to improve the profitability and golf customer experience for our customers, both residents and non-residents. Let's say that again, residents and non-residents. They both need to have a positive experience, and we're doing some great work there. We hope to be back in front of the community this fall to present a future look at an updated vision, a business plan for the golf course, and investment needs that may be critically important for this important asset moving into 2022. And we'll be super communicative on that. We're also forming a roads task force to help support a community manager and annual planning and budget improvements that are needed in the valley, especially in the problem areas on Alpine. I think everybody's probably where we've got sinkage issues just based on our terrain. We're going to have to fix it. So we've got to go back to an older approach that's worked before with a dedicated group of people focused and helping us do that. We got Dave and all the go. We'll also, and if you refer to the Christmas tree thing, I'll talk about that. We'll continue to focus on taking better care of what we have with the highest standard that everybody expects, with smart improvements where they make sense and where they're necessary. This is an ongoing goal to do things right the first time. When we don't do them right the first time, we spend more money than we should, and everybody's disappointed. But we'll also do that with critical community input where needed, and within improvement. Hope everybody is added or noticed the trees at Willie's parking lot. No, it's just a simple tweak. Area beautification. Didn't take a lot of effort, a little bit of thought, and making things happen, but it provides the privacy for the folks that live along the parking lot by Willie's. And there's just so much beautiful terrain here that we can continue to tweak. It's a matter of taking care of it. And then finally, every new day presents challenges. We know there are concerns, and we share them about the Rumpke Trans site. Some people have been actively involved already, and we know it's not far from us in Ohio. We've actually, as a board, have already met with Rumpke's ownership and key leadership to express our concerns and understand what can be done to protect the interest of HVL long term. We will detail our efforts in upcoming communications, but we're going to encourage a neighborhood watch group to help manage the future of how we work with Rumpke to make sure that we're not directly affected and we don't squelch any thoughts. Some people have more concerns than others. So in closing, your board and Dave Wisman are working hard to onboard our new members who you've met and get to know each other's strengths, share ideas for HVL, and align quickly on a documented operations plan based on critical communication feedback from all of you. And as you would expect, we'll certainly use our own eyes and ears as well. We'll share more in future board meetings, and we are setting an aggressive and prudent course for the next year and beyond. So thank everybody for coming tonight. Have a great holiday weekend with your friends and family. All right. Okay, Jeff and the treasurer's report.
All right, thank you. First off, note that the months are incorrect. They have March and May in there, a little typo, they're all April. Okay, so of course, all amounts are rounded off to the nearest dollar. Financial position for the month of April 2021, our cash position on April 1st, 2021 is $886,905, and the end cash for April 31st, 2021 is $783, $14.77. And the rest of the financial report will be from that committee.
Okay, we're also committed to an ongoing monthly golf course update, which is critical as that happens to everybody. So Dave Paper will continue to follow the treasurer's report moving forward, and we'll do a monthly update on activities.
Thanks, Scott. I'd like to begin with an update on our mortgage for the purchase.
Are we finished with the treasurer's report? Yes. we
Yeah.
are. Okay.
Notice on the current balance sheet April, that you do not have an income statement. No income statement,
I haven't seen that yet.
okay.
Sorry. First
For
month.
the 3 months ending, this year, 2021. The income statement says we have 214,801. Balance sheet in the equity section says we have 215,477.12. Those two figures should be the same. So if we're going forward, it doesn't look like our current balance sheet is not right, or nobody can answer why the difference in those two figures.
What was your first figure on there, Bill?
What
was that first figure that you had?
The first figure I had, 214,801.
Okay. I'll check on it with Kyle.
I'm reading this right off the public statement.
Any other questions?
What do you mean you follow up?
Well,
Nobody has followed up yet. Who puts this thing out and looks at it and says, oh, it's all right. Somebody didn't, I don't know who,
yeah, we'll wait
okay,
around.
because I don't want to bug anybody in the office up there. They're not too happy group up there, so they don't smile like the old people. Okay.
Is Bonnie and I are both on the finance, I'll try to follow up. But at the last finance committee meeting that we attended, we missed the last meeting. But at the previous finance committee meeting, Marla mentioned that they had had trouble with the new finance package that we ordered. And it's working fine for Greg's side of it, but for Marla's side, it's not. And she was in a kind of a transition. But I'll try to get the numbers, exact numbers that Bill was talking about from Bill. We'll make sure we do follow. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to begin the report with an update on our mortgage for the purchase of the property. Beginning in January 2015, we hit a principal balance of $1,650,000. Since that date, we've paid down almost $700,000 in principal on the mortgage. I'm happy to report that we were able to strike a deal with Civista Bank several months ago to lower our rate from 4.5% down to 3.55%. And that is fixed for 5 years. The remaining, there's 8.5 years left on the note. There is a one-time possible adjustment on the rate that we were able to negotiate for a ceiling of 4.5%. interest rates go up over the next 4 or 5 years, we can't pay more than 4.5% of where we are now. So we're kind of protected. This board has decided to put the extra savings from the lower rate for principal each month. We're going to keep the payment basically the same, and we pay extra principal towards the mortgage, and we believe it'll reduce our payments by about 4 or 5 months. Moving on to the golf course update, April 30, 2021, we had a cash balance of $285,000. And that's a result of a cash gain of $85,000 in 2020. Forgiveness of the PPP loan.
Hey.
51,000, and then better than forecasted revenue for 2021.
Hey, Rich,
Marla's budget for 2021 shows a $110,000 gain. So I believe we'll exceed that. In 2019, we had 170 members. Golf club, right now we're closing in on 270 members. And I want to conclude with a little bit of a membership by age range. One of the staff members put this together. And of our 270 members, 14% of those members are in their 30s, 13% are in their 40s,
Ted,
23%
do me
are
a
in their
favor.
50s, 28% are in their 60s.
kind of meet me around back.
22%
and see where you
70
think
and older. So
I
a little
need to
over
put it, and
75%
let's
of
do a
our
little bit of a
members are in
visual.
that 30, 60,
I think I'm making
age
some
range,
headway.
and we're seeing
I got an
that
idea.
countrywide.
Just not sure if it's the right
isolated
idea.
in Valley. That's kind of the trend for golf. That's all. I have.
Question? Ken?
here's one on 27. How many years are left on the golf course? 5 years,
No, 8.5 years.
8.5?
Yeah, we started in 2015 on a 15-year term.
But we're paying extra principal, so we should be done with it a few months ahead.
We should be able to knock 4 or 5 months off.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm listening to the board meeting on my phone. Ken fixing out everything. That I'm out there sitting beside him. So I think I've leveled that up there pretty good where we
Sure.
set. I mean, I don't know what you think.
Marla can.
I think maybe people would be a
Um,
little bit interested.
Do you want the fire pit to be like down some?
And it's glad.
You said something like that before, but I wasn't sure. I mean, I wasn't gonna dig, rather
Okay,
I was gonna
Marla-
put
Marla
sort
has
of
that information. We can figure out how to post that every month.
something like that. Or see it more.
Very good.
Okay.
All right, Pat, secretary's report.
Thank you, Scott. I am
If I
going to make
put it in
a
the same
motion
spot,
that we approve the minutes from our March board meeting and the
And then
April
more dirt.
annual meeting. Now, something
Around
that's
like that?
interesting to note on
now
this
kind of-
is that of the
And
5 of us sitting
obviously
up
the
here,
rocks are gonna go on
only
top of
2
it.
of us
Two.
attended these meetings.
So
We do not have a quorum to vote on them, but
think that looks
I am
okay
going to
there?
ask Dave Hafner, who
Or-
was the other board member present with me at these 2 meetings, to second,
Okay.
and we will take any
well,
questions or
well,
concerns
fucked up.
you have.
and I can correct it,
The minutes were sent out.
is I got the
So you should have. had an
pieces of
opportunity
sod,
to
because I
see
thought
them.
that's what that
But
all
any
was. I thought that's
questions,
what that
concerns,
all was.
reported?
I think I can go in here now and dig some out, and that'll settle down and put
Second.
more like this,
And
is kind of what I'm,
we are in favor of accepting the minutes, and we will asterisk them in the minutes from this meeting, just noting again, that only 2 of 5 board members voted to accept them. And that's all me. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Whistler, David, community manager's report.
Good evening. Couple notes on our office. Our office will be open Saturday morning from 8
Yeah.
a.m. to noon this week to accommodate people for the Memorial Day weekend. It's something I wanted to try, especially during this busy time of the year. Also noting our hours increased on Friday. We're open until 5:30 now on Friday afternoons since last October. So, you know, you have a few more hours to get those IDs and and other office items. We have our Memorial Day event Sunday, starts at 10, right? Over at the Veterans Memorial. So I hope to see you all there if you can make it. The office will be closed on Monday, May 31st, in observance of Memorial Day. Regarding the lake, we just had our first lake treatment May the 18th. And yesterday we had spot treatments because we had some extra algae this year. The vendor noticed that the first treatment, and we'd been keeping watch on that over the weekend. And they, as I said, they came back yesterday for spot treatments. We attempted our lake study with Dr. Lawrence and his crew from Thomas More University. And unfortunately, they were unable to get into two of the most likely lakes that we thought they could get into with the size boat they have. His boat is too large to access our lakes the way they're constructed. He's searching for other options, and residents have offered the use of their boats, but he has special equipment that's kind of built into the boat. So he has some other professors that he deals with that he's trying to find something smaller. At worst, his plan is to come back in the fall and do our main lake study as we had earlier planned. Dredging continues in the main lake. They're currently in the area of Cravenhurst and Cedar Cliff. We had a small hiccup last week. All of you probably have heard where our one of the barges sank. Fortunately, it was in a shallow area. They were able to recover it, and they've gotten that equipment out of the lake. Dredging resumed Monday, and they've been making very good progress in that cove. Our maintenance team has completed some of the larger projects we've had on the shelf for a while, as well as the day-to-day operations. Those day-to-day operations are busier this time of year and throughout the summer. We'll soon be making minor repairs to the entrance sign and restaining the gazebo here by Willie's. The materials have been purchased to build 4 more kayak racks, and there are plans to get those built. The golf course, we continue to have a robust spring for the golf course. Our the numbers are up this month, round up this month. And, membership has increased a little bit more. We have had 3 major golf outings in May, and all of those were very successful. And we have 4 coming up here in June and 7 more after that throughout the summer. In addition, they've increased their league play and a Friday mixed couple. So that's all I have. Any questions? Thank you very much.
All right, moving into committee and club report. Tom, architecture.
There was one deletion from the agenda that I'd like to add back in this evening. We wanted a second reading on a proposed bylaw change. First reading was at last month's board meeting, and I would like to have a second reading this evening to enter into our record. I'll start with that if that's all right. Okay, the bylaw change was for the approved plans assessment. It's 4-25-11 in our bylaws. We would like it to say that A, if a person or his or her agent does not follow the plans approved by the architecture committee, including but not limited to following the dimensions and locations as approved, the following assessments will be levied: a sliding fine from $500 to $2,000 plus a stop work order. And secondly, B, if a person fails to obtain permission from the architecture committee to construct an improvement requiring architectural committee approval, Number one, demand the removal of the improvement, and two, levy an assessment, sliding assessment anywhere from 100 to 1,000 per month until the improvement is removed or permission is granted, or may both assess the monthly fee and demand removal. So again, that would be our second reading. Moving on, we have, yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Can I have a motion to accept?
Sorry.
Thanks, Dave. Matt, thank you. Any questions, comments? From the audience on that one? Anything coming online? So with that, go ahead. Can I have a motion to accept as written for the second reading?
I will make the motion to accept as presented.
Okay.
by Mark.
Thank you, Pat.
Second.
Dave. All in favor? Yep. All right, that passes.
Thank you, Scott. I'm going to go a little bit out of order here. I think it might be a little more understandable if I do that. I'm going to come to, we have some bond returns. Snap through there also. You'll note that there are 3 bond returns listed on your agenda for this evening. A few moments ago, Mr. Stark informed me that the second bond return perhaps was already issued and may not need to be issued again. But I'll read these 3. Yes, we need to check with the office to make sure that that has not happened. But of the 3 bond returns, on all 3, I show no dues or fines or fees owed on any of the 3. The first one is lot number 0170. It's located at 987 Hickory Road. Property owners are James and Amy Jackson. The bond is in the amount of $500. You want me to go through all 3, Scott, and do them at once? Okay. The second one, the one in question, is lot 2789. It's located at 1791 Ridgewood Circle. Owner is Devin Steele. Bond amount is $2,000. And lastly, lot number 1881 and 1880, located at 1502 Aqua Vista Drive. Owners of that property, Gene and Randy Rademacher, and bond in the amount of $2,000. And again, it was the address at 1791 Ridgewood Circle that is in question. Okay.
So can I have a motion to approve those as read into the record by Tom from Architect?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second. Thank you, Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those all passed 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, we would ask the board to grant a variance to Michelle and Mark Scott, lot 1142, located at 20363 Mearsham Way. We're requesting a 10-foot variance to place a garage on the front elevation of the property. The variance procedure was followed. Letters of correspondence were sent to abutting neighbors. There was no objections from the neighbors, and the committee feels that this the variance we're in favor of granting it.
So that one.
I don't know if it was unanimous. It was certainly a majority.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Motion to approve as stated for that 10-foot variance.
I'll make
Motion
that.
approved.
Then I'll
We got
be
the
your
same one,
second.
two, Bob, do my second. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Steve.
Hey, this side of the table, I'm tired of hearing people all over there.
I'm on with Steve, he's in the committee.
You guys got the second one, right?
That's
Okay,
All
there
right.
you go.
All right, all set on that. Michelle and Mark. They're here.
They're in the
They're in the
corner.
back row.
All right, and finally, I'll give a little background on the 21st of April. Mr. and Mrs. That's Stephen and Melissa Gullissy, lot 181 and 182, located at 19967 Elm Drive, came before our committee asking to place a parking pad measuring 10 foot by 21 foot on their property. The Galaxies already have an existing parking pad of 354 square feet located on the property. And therefore, by using the bylaws as our guidance, the committee denied that request. Mr. and Mrs. Galaxy are here this evening and would like to speak to the board on behalf of overriding that.
Very good.
I think they're here. Yeah. Should they come up at this point?
Sure, please do.
Thank you. And that's all I have. Any questions on anything else?
Any questions? All good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We vote? We voted. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Please, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we currently have a driveway as it is. It's a two-car driveway. We have a two-car garage, and the driveway that when we purchased the home was already existing there. And the scenario of that particular driveway is that it starts off as a single lane when you first enter into the driveway, and then it flares out to the two-car lane. And so what we were running into when we first purchased the home was difficulty in managing parking cars without being blocked in because it was only the one lane to get out of the driveway. And there is a culvert that the single lane crosses over. You know, there's a little ditch, as most yards have the culvert. So we basically had two options that we came up with previously, and that was to either expand where it narrows to one lane, so it widens so that it's a full two-car lane. That would have entailed adding an additional culvert and going that route. The second scenario that we came up with was to put a parking pad sort of sideways, so that when cars can pull in, they can pull into this parking pad, and it wouldn't block the passage coming in and out of the driveway. So the process by doing that added technically a parking pad, so that we can park our cars on the driveway. What we're now running into is that now that we've used up the parking pad dimensions to do that, now we don't have availability to do a parking pad for like an RV or something like that off to the side of the garage. So what we're here to request is basically, because of the variance or the awkward nature of the driveway, is to permit a second parking pad so that we can put a parking pad on the side of the garage for a trailer, RV, camper, that sort of thing.
That's a 10 by 20.
Yeah. We do have a double lot, so there's ample room that's not encroaching on anybody's property. It can't even hardly be seen from, there's nobody behind, and the neighbor on the side currently has a shed that's sort of blocking the view from them. So the only point where it would be seen would just be directly from the front of the house looking in. Spoke to some of the neighbors about it. Nobody had any issues with it. They all said it would look good. Nobody expressed any concerns with it. The only thing that I guess we would say on this is that in hindsight, if it's a big issue, or if we have to strictly adhere to the bylaws, in hindsight, maybe what we should have done is just expand the driveway to two cars, and have the culvert added and that sort of thing. And then we would be able to do parking down on the side, but that's not what was done. And so we're just.
Is the parking pad parallel to the road?
The
Parallel,
No.
how do you mean?
well, I mean, is it parallel the driveway or is it parallel?
So the parking pad, maybe I can just show you. So that here's the street right here. And the parking pad, the driveway comes in. So what we did is we just.
It's a gravel parking pad.
No, it's concrete.
This is concrete?
Yes, all this. And so, when we requested this part, part of it is, it's not just simply that way. Little extra. So the place where we want to park is inside.
Would this be considered a parking pad?
Okay, let's do this real quick. We got ahead of it. Record. Need a motion to go ahead and open this room. Motion. Thank you, Steve. Second, Pat. Yes, you did. All right, so we're opening for discussion.
One of the things that we take into consideration is that we had requested parking pad in September of 2018. That's when it was granted that parking pad again.
Correct.
Again, 354 square feet. Adding what they requested this time around was an additional 210, 560. Bylaw rules, maximum 360, and for that reason.
Right.
Julie Mason, 224. I'm going to preface my comments with, I think they should be able to do that. I think they're creating a space that pulls things away from the front of the road. They're putting a trailer or something beside the garage where we want people to put things. But in saying that, years ago, we had planned to do something very similar, and we're told we could put the pad in, but we couldn't connect it to our driveway. So to be able to use it, we would have had to go through the grass to get to it, because then the pad would have been too big. And I guess I say all that, and I guess saying that I think this whole parking pad thing that we created and the space and sizing of it, I think it was a mistake to even put that in place. I think each one of these situations should really be evaluated individually and on the merit. It's so limiting that I think what they're doing will make their plot cleaner and neater looking, which I think it would have done for us as well. And we were really prohibited from doing it. And I just think it's too restrictive, and I just think each one needs to be evaluated more individually. I've heard other people with similar kind of situations with the parking pad situation. I know what they were trying to do. People are creating these giant pads in the front of their yard that are right up against the street. But I just think in hindsight, it's created more problems than helping people neaten up their yards and put things where we want them to put them by being too restrictive.
Yeah.
That's just my comment.
For your similarly, we were going to have, what we're requesting is just the parking pad also just on the side of the garage. So there would be a portion of it would have to go through the grass. We're in that same situation. So I don't know if we can do maybe the track so that we wouldn't have to drive through the lawn, or if we can connect the two, that would be maybe the most ideal. Although we did want to try and limit how much concrete is in the yard and, that sort of thing too.
You got, the completed design proposal or just?
What do you mean?
You guys are going through the design, right? Like, how you guys
Yeah.
property live and have a sketch of what's proposed?
On the project, the sketch down on the plot.
Yeah, so we didn't get too far along with that. Again, given the maximum.
That's correct,
at
right.
360, that kind of ended the discussion. Donovan? Sure.
Donna Getzler, 939. Do you need the other one, the 354 square foot? Where is that located?
Well, again, that keeps the cars from blocking one another so we just basically pull into the driveway and then we just pull into this parking pad that just basically leaves the driveway clear so that we can go in and out.
So is that located parallel to the driveway then? And you're just gonna
That's,
add more?
I don't know how to answer
More
that.
to that. You're gonna add more to that to go to the back of the house, basically, or the side of it.
We weren't going to necessarily add on similar to hers. We weren't going to necessarily connect them. So this would just be a standalone parking pad that would be in the back off to the side of the existing garage. So we would have to tow it through the grass like basically
So
from
could you
here
get
to
rid
that
of that-
wall.
That first one then, that you got approved 3 years ago to keep within the rule?
I mean, if it complicates things, I don't see how we could do that. I mean, because it's concreted in, and it's unless we were to do a culvert and then take out a portion, so that we basically just left with exactly a 2-car driveway, and then we would have
So-
no parking pad technically in the front.
So 3 years ago, when you got it approved, the law, I mean, the rule was 360 also.
Yes,
correct? It was
yeah.
360 and that's. what-
Right, we had no intention at that point that we were going to put in a parking pad, for an RV. We had no thought about getting an RV at that time. We were just rehabbing this house. And, we just worked with how it was given to us,
Did
basically.
you just say that your existing parking pad is concrete?
Yes.
So it's a hard surface.
Mhm.
That's not really a parking pad, is it? That's part of your driveway.
Yeah, it's an extension of the
Well,
driveway.
but it's big, it's a little bit bigger than what the driveway would have been, because you've got the single lane coming in, and then we had to have a place to be able to put cars so that we can get in and out.
But it's
So,
attached to your
awkward.
existing driveway, is it not?
It's attached to the existing
Now,
driveway.
would that not be considered a driveway addition and not a pad? If
No.
it's,
If
Well,
you can picture in your mind a home, any home, and the garage, and the driveway as wide as the garage going in, that's what we're considering to be a driveway. Once you exceed that dimension and go beyond the side elevation of the house and the garage, it becomes a parking pad.
Yeah,
I
so
think
a
that's-
portion of the add-on was considered a parking pad, just because it was a little bit larger than what it would have been if it were just simply a 2-car
Two-lane.
going all the way out, adding the culvert and that sort of thing. We just tried to do it the most streamlined, the most efficient way that made sense at the time.
Did that answer your question, Jeff?
yes, thank you.
Phil Heights, lot 2730. I drove by this afternoon, just to take a look at it, refreshing my memory, because it's been a while since I was out there.
Mhm.
And I remember where you had your area staked out and so on, which isn't at the time, at this time. But when I drove by, I noticed you had 3 cars parked on your pad, perpendicular to the driveway, and you had 2-lane driveway going up to your garage, and nothing seemed obstructed by that parking pad large enough to park 3 cars, which were currently parked in there. So how many cars do you plan on parking in this area?
No, that's it. It's just but see, because it's a single lane to be able to get out, if we were to park those 3 cars just on the driveway, without having widened the entrance. That's the issue, is the entrance is only a single lane.
That's true.
And that's the only reason that we did it sideways like that, so that we can efficiently be able to pull the cars out of the way and keep it neat. And it's basically the driveway is basically just a driveway, not a parkway.
If my perception is correct, your existing driveway and that parking pad you have there at this time is much wider than typical two-lane driveway.
It added, I think, 150 square feet or something like that. So they considered that part of the addition was the two-car driveway, and part of it was a parking pad.
Okay, I'm gonna ask for a motion amongst the committee. So we'll ask for a motion. It'll be done under the spirit of Julie's comment and the architectural respect for the rules, which we appreciate, but understanding that there are gray areas that we still need to look at and really understand what we're seeing. So with that, would you
I
like
will-
to make a motion?
I will make a motion that this be tabled for the purposes of this meeting to allow board members to go and physically see your property.
Okay.
It's very difficult to envision. some of the
Absolutely.
things that
Yeah.
you're
And we'd be
saying.
happy to, to come out and explain what we were doing and what we want to do.
Sure.
And
all
I
that.
apologize for
No
the
problem.
inconvenience to you, because that means you have
It's
to
no
come back
problem.
again.
We've kind of put off on hold.
Second,
any-
Steve, yep, and Tom, what we'd like to do in respect to the committee, and what you guys have already done, is have you attend with us, so that we can keep all the communication tight. So he said, she said, and this was fluid. So I think that would.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so all in
So-
favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, 5-0, that passes. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Alrighty, thank
Will
you.
somebody call us as far as scheduling something, or would it be in the evening, during the day, or?
Dave, what work with Dave?
Okay. Right now, she's on school break, and I'm working from home, so
All right.
should be
perfect.
fine anytime.
Great,
Thank you.
okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
So Tom, that wraps up, right? Everything from architecture, thank you so much. Okay, so. Yeah, so let's go back on the 10-foot variance. We think we didn't vote on that after we made the motion, so.
We
let's
have,
go-
we have a motion and a second.
A motion and a second, so just. a
Mhm.
matter of all in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
All right. Finance Committee.
Come on,
Bonnie?
buddy.
Thank you. Take your time.
Take your time.
No hurry.
We should have got the mic to you, right?
There's one.
Yes. you're good.
Okay, Bonnie Stark, slot 2800, reporting for the Finance Committee. The committee reviewed the April financial statements, and we're asking for your approval.
First, that.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. 5-0.
Okay, thank you.
Bonnie.
We have a motion for the first reading. We would like to see a change in the first sentence of our collection procedures to read. Shall be assessed a late fee on a monthly basis of 2% of the outstanding balance or $10, whichever is more. The committee would just like to have a second reading next time on that. But the office feels that this would be very beneficial to the people who are having difficulty paying the bills on time. This is a break form,
Mr. Bonnie, this is more lenient.
more lenient, much more. Yes.
Let's go ahead and open that for comments. Dave, you wanted to start?
Think we want to not have a handle on that. That would be a-
Oh, okay.
so just take the stop at 2%,
Or $10, huh?
not just the 2%.
Oh, just
2%
stop
on
at the 2%. Okay, very good.
That's my-
Any other comments or questions on that from the audience or online? And just as a reminder, we'll make those language correction and it goes to the second reading.
Okay.
Do that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Any other comments, questions?
Okay, thank you.
A motion.
First, accept the initial reading with the minor edits.
Okay,
Second day, all in favor?
Aye.
very good. Thank you. The committee thanks you.
Okay, we will not have a future planning committee report tonight. We will move the lakes. Mr. Patterson.
Dave Patterson, 1533, Chairman of the Lakes Committee. I think the first thing we want to do is the rule change. Is that correct? The current rule regarding covers on the boat lifts, current rule 14-12-6 is headed no covers on docks or boat lifts. And the rule states a dock and a boat lift may not have covers. We've had a task force working on this, looking at boat lift covers for quite some time, and has been discussed at the committee by a number of times. And we've come up with a proposal to change this rule. The proposed 14-12-6 will just be titled covers on docks or boat lifts. A dock may not have covers. A boat lift may have a shore station revolution frame and shore station revolution canopy cover as recommended and approved by the architecture committee. That's the original and the change. We'd like to request that accepted as a first reading.
Aye.
Yes, discussion.
You're on the air now, go. Yeah. Okay, I had a quick question, Dick. Tom Cross, 1573-74, Architecture Committee. A couple of your representatives came to us about 5 or 6 months ago with the original proposal. At that time, we had quite a few questions around the table. And as a result of that discussion, we had asked the Lakes Committee if they could put out a survey to the community, because we felt that this was not affecting just boat owners, but those that have used of the lake and so forth. And at that time, they said that they would do that. We had no other contact with the Lakes Committee since that initial meeting as to the results of that survey or any answers to any of the other questions that we had put forth to you at that time.
We did put out a survey. We got a lot of good response from the community, and the majority was supporting. That was not a vote. We don't, surveys are not votes. Nobody's asking me for anything. There were 326 surveys that were returned. 55% or 182 of them were in favor. 37% were not. 8% had no opinion. So these represented lake view lot owners, lakefront lot owners, and regular lot owners, which would not have any impact on the view on the lake. So the majority was in favor of supporting and allowing the covers.
Okay, can you tell me what the dimensions on the boat lifts typically are?
The boat lifts to the cover.
Yes, well, the people said the cover would cover the lift.
Cover is, the cover is longer than the lift significantly,
Okay,
because the lift is probably 6 feet, 8 feet less than the boat even.
all right.
And then
So what would be maybe a typical length on those covers?
maximum length is 30 feet.
30 feet.
Uh,
Would that be running parallel or perpendicular to the shore?
Depends on which way the lift is going.
Well, we have a bylaw now that it can go no longer than 12 feet into the lake. How can we go from 12 to 30? That's where we were confused with the initial proposal we made. We're not quite understanding. If you've got, let's say you've got up in one of the fingers, people that are across from each other. They both have boat lifts and they both put a 30-foot lift cover on there. You're looking at 60 feet fingers long.
That's why they all have to be approved before they're installed by the architecture committee, so you don't run into situations like that.
I mean, these were the kind of typical questions that we had. And we really haven't heard anything else about it until this evening.
Okay.
I think in a situation like that, architect would have to make sure there's a pocket, somebody that would hang and create a pocket.
Okay.
And part of the rule change is that is to be approved by the architecture committee. And because also one of the things we found too is that not everybody is going to have a shore station lift and a shore station cover. There are other manufacturers, but we wanted to specify one that we felt was the quality and so forth that we wanted to be uniform. But there are people out there who have existing lifts that are not shore stations. To require them to go out and buy a whole new lift just to put that type of cover on top, we felt was a little extreme. So if they've got a, what's one of the other? Hewitt, like Hewitt's is another model. So if someone's come in and they have that kind of lift, then they can request a variance and make, as long as it follows, does it look right, it's the right size, and so forth and so forth.
How was the survey done? And how did it read? I mean, I didn't see it. I wasn't surveyed. No, I was not.
Okay. Yes.
I don't believe so. Were the dimensions for the covers?
No. It was
They weren't given in the survey?
No, it was basically, I don't believe they were.
They would be. I
Okay.
remember doing the survey, and I mentioned in my response that, I don't live on the lake, and I don't really feel like I can be part of the decision making. But there was very little information about what the cover was.
To put a cover on, to make it even worthwhile, you would need to have large enough cover to cover the boat. Or else there's makes no sense at all. So typically you've got a pontoon boat, you've got a maximum length of 26 feet. Beyond that is the motor. So you're probably close to 30 feet with the whole thing. So with a 30-foot length for the canopy, you're covering what needs to be covered. And it's, we got the width, I think, is 10 feet and 10 feet high, I believe, are the numbers.
So let me suggest that I want to shut off the question for sure, but obviously we have to put a lot of work that took place on that, like including the survey. This is the first reading, so we're not approving anything tonight. I thought if we move forward with the motion, we set something along the lines of table this, and you guys close the gap between this meeting and the next one. That would be like some responsibilities set up for you guys to be approving them. As long as you guys are comfortable with survey, feedback, detail, what your process is, so we can go forward with the language.
Yeah, we would very much, committee would very much appreciate a chance to sit down with someone from Lakes again and see how this all transpired. Again, like I said, we had no contact at initial proposal.
But I would like to ask one of the questions. So what I understand from you, Dave, is that we're not going to change the 10-foot rule. If they need a 30-foot top, it's going to go into their property, not out to the lake.
No, not true. This is going to cover
So
the
we're
boat.
not going to, so our 10-foot rule from shoreline is
big
So,
is.
let me- Don, let me help you
Gone.
with that, but that's, this was talked about extensively about the rule on this, how far that stays the way it is. But if you put a 26-foot pontoon boat on the boat's out 26 feet.
But the lifts aren't at this point. At this point, they're no longer than 10 foot.
But all the boats are on the 10 feet. So when you talk about what's coming out of the lake, or those of the boat, it's out over the rule. If it's,
You are certainly shortening up the lake for the general public.
Nothing, I hate to say it, but it's nothing new. And if you were to even put a boat lift parallel to a dock, and the dock is already 10 feet into the lake, then you've got a 8 to 10 foot structure out into the lake anyway, and it's probably going to have an extra foot or two between the lift and the dock. So you're already a
Yeah, I know.
good
I mean,
20
if you
some
got a
feet.
22 or 24-foot pontoon, and now you're already out into the lake, whether you go parallel or perpendicular. But now you're even adding more to that canopy that you can have an additional up to 30 feet.
The 30 feet is approximately what the full length of the boat is.
The full length of the largest boat.
Yeah, with engine, et cetera, and so forth, because the engine is not included in the measurement of the length of the boat.
But it would take up space.
The engine
The
does,
lake-
absolutely.
on the lake, it obviously has more space in the lake.
Yeah.
Kevin Rose, Kevin Block,
And that's-
14. Can we just box something up so we can take a look at it? So what is 10 feet by 30 feet? So the pictures of these portions. Yeah. I mean, if we just put one up at somebody's dock.
That's a significant investment for.
I mean, no, not the real thing, just whatever, something for a car, put it so you can see it, you know, it's whatever. My gut feel is that it's a huge tractor for the lake.
We also went to several other lakes in the area that allow and have canopy boat lift covers. And they had boat lifts from boat lengths up to 26 feet, probably something longer. And it was not obtrusive looking. It blended in, it covered the boat.
Is that on a lake? I mean, our fingers are what is a real concern to me, is that our fingers are going to be, you've got 4 or 5 docks that have that. It's already hard sometimes to get in those fingers, especially if people are idling
Right.
in those fingers. Now you have that
So
extended.
what's the criteria then to accept or reject if we have everybody?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, now you guys can be putting it in. How are you gonna determine which ones are okay? Well, that's a good question. I mean, this is gonna come up, right? You're gonna be the good guy in bed.
Not totally. And any variance that comes out of the architecture committee that's required then goes to the Lakes Committee also. So we'll.
Variance?
Any variance.
So
which
you're
goes-
asking for variances for everything over what?
Any variance that he has to have, like for boat type lifts, types of or something like that, would come to us. But that's not a variance, no, you're right.
I have another question that, I know we started this canopy thing for the boats, protect boats on the lips. But I know several years ago, we also had people that wanted to put canopies and carports for their cars. And that was told no. I mean, that we had a lot, no carports, no canopies that set up in your car. So it's just opening up another can of worms that the people who think they need their protection on their car too. Because I know for a fact, one person was told to take his expensive canopy down.
I don't know.
Julie Mason, lot 2224. On my way here today, I was talking to my husband about some of the things that we discussed, and that's exactly what he said. Exactly. He said, so does that mean we can build those for our vehicles at our house? We're not lake people, but we have a vehicle or something that we want to cover, why would that not be allowed if we can do this on the lake? Not that we have that, but that was the first thing that came to his head, was that you're gonna have people asking for that at their homes as well. And I think you have to really understand that the question will come up. I'm not against what they're asking for. It doesn't affect me very much. We don't have a lake view, we're not on the lake. Just something to think about.
Any other questions or comments?
Bill Heights, lot 2730. I saw the photographs given of canopies over boat lifts, and they look reasonably good, but all the ones that I saw were perpendicular to the shore, in the pictures that I saw, and on rather wide, large lake areas where you can look across the lake and you can hardly see them across the lake. But I picture an hour-long, narrow lake with these fingers and so on. If you have every boat lift out there with a canopy over it and parallel to the shore, you would look out there and you wouldn't even see the shoreline. All you'd see is a bunch of multicolored canopies dotting the shoreline. And I have a hunch that that would degrade the view of the lake for everybody that wants to enjoy the view of the lake.
Any other questions or comments?
So next steps.
Yeah.
Do we want to, is this considered still the first reading or not? Okay.
I'll motion
Okay, so as a continuation from after the first reading, the reason for a first reading is to allow exactly what we're going to do, is to have more discussion and meet with your committee, and we can do either come to your committee, you come to our committee, or we can meet sometime at a mutually agreed upon time. And some people from our committee and some and you and your committee. However we want to work it, you and I can get together and arrange that. Okay. Okay. Bruce. Hello. Whoa, whoa. Yeah, there you go.
When lakes and architecture gets together online, think about the side setback too. We have a 10-foot side setback, for docks,
Yep.
then you can add 30-foot structures, but now that has to be 10 foot sidewalk. So,
Good point. Thank you.
Oh,
There is a rule that says that canopies are not allowed over boat lifts. And does anyone know why that rule was created in the first place?
sure you can tell us if
No, I'm asking.
I don't know. The audience, no? Probably goes back years.
Don Norris, 1379. Something sticks in my head, wasn't there some issue with the Corps of Engineers, with structures of any sort? And I'm just, because I remember something way back. Don't remember details. But that may have entered into.
I think what he gave through the survey and the participation we had, how do you think we have to do things? It seems to me as though there would have to be something in the architecture, property maintenance rules to cover these, because not only could they be an eyesore, they could potentially be a very eyesore as they're right down there on the shoreline. So I just asked if you give some thought to that.
There are a number
Imagine
of,
that would fall on our compliance officer, which
exactly.
is a fairly full plate as it is.
There is a number of items that we're included in the survey and in the whole proposal. It includes covers or colors. We've specified certain colors, solid patterns, so you don't get polka dots or stripes or something like that. All of that was done in the effort to maintain pleasant view and so forth. They are to be maintained, and yes, the compliance officer will have control on that. And if someone has an issue, they can always call the office. And that should be anybody's first call, first thought with any kind of an issue, whether it's boat lift covers, whether it's algae on the lake, whatever it is, the first call should always be to the office for an answer. But this, we consider that part of the procedures that would underline this vote change, the rule change. And we'll bring those and we can discuss those as well. Okay, first thing I did was I want to thank Eric Fox for filling in for me last time, both at the meeting and at the annual meeting. Appreciate that and understand he did a yeoman's duty there. For the Fish and Game Club report, they at that time had 3 tournaments. Fish were scarce due to the weather at that time. Since then, we have stocked the lake with 100 pounds of golden shiners in the 4 to 5 inch range and 600 pounds of golden shiners in the 2 to 3 inch range. These are bait fish to help the size of the bass improve. Lake Patrol, Paul Raltis, no citations have been issued. We did have several boats that we kicked off the lake and did not allow on the lake as first week of May because they did not have the appropriate sticker in. We're still looking for numbers for the Lake Patrol. Small lake maintenance, Dave's already pretty much covered that. Covered boat list, we discussed that quite a bit. We've already gone over that. Dredging, Dave has pretty much covered that already. We have added an extension to the dock that's closest to the dam and the spillway to facilitate drop off and pick up for anybody, but also facilitates if there's a handicapped person that needs to be moved onto a boat. As Dave also mentioned, kayak rentals, we've got 4 new docks that are approved that we put in. Eco Harvester is a topic we've talked about a number of times. That is still a project in the Lakes Committee. Ken Horn is going to be the one who's putting together the project request form for the benefits and costs and so forth on that. It's still something we're looking at. Then we get into the highway rule, the task force. This has been going on in the committee for a number of months now. John Dutton has prepared a rather extensive suggested alternative to the existing rule. The existing rule states that the use of installed boat devices and or boat operations that cause the creation of damaging or dangerous wake are prohibited on the HVL main lake. Definition of damaging and dangerous has always been hard to define. It is a subjective. And I have no idea how you would measure unless someone is looking at and there is damage does occur and you can identify the wave and the boat that caused it. Then you could have an issue. But otherwise, we're trying to come up with a modification to this rule that would be more easily enforceable, but still allow people to use the lake the way they want to use the lake. So we're trying to find a middle ground in there. We discussed John's proposal. It was like a 3-paragraph proposal. After discussing, it got pretty well cut and chipped away at. There was 1 paragraph got left, and it was basically trying to define the discussion of dangerous and waves. We voted on that and we voted that down because we did not feel that that was a motion that we wanted to move forward with. If we're going to have a motion come out from it, it needed to be something that was going to cover all what we're looking at. So we put together a group of approximately 12 people who agreed to let's go out, meet, try and come up with something, another approach to come back to the committee with. They have met once. And unfortunately, have not had a lot of success in finding middle ground. I'm encouraging them to take another cut at it. And that's where we are on that. That basically is what we have in my report this time. Any other questions? No, that's a first. I better leave before they.
Right.
Yes. I noticed that we didn't address
in the finance part, we didn't address a second bylaw that has to be affected by that 2%. There are two bylaws. One is for property owners, one is for homeowners. Homeowners is one, it's 13-7-1, and then the property owners is 13-7-2. So it would be a change of the same language, shall be assessed a late fee on a monthly basis of 2% for both of those bylaw changes.
Second.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
13.7.1.
Okay, all right, moving forward. If you don't think we're gonna get to the end, we're gonna. All right. Amy, Parks and Recreation, please.
Congratulations. Thank you. Good news. Opening day is a Saturday. Hope it's going to be sunny and warm. You've seen the weather report. So that'll be 12 to 8. We are restricting or going back, relaxing all the COVID restrictions. They will still separate the chairs for social distancing, you know. Of course, everybody's gonna, yes, congregate. We are also back to everyone being allowed to bring guests. Everything's the same. Nothing's changed there. We did get some new chairs that some people be happy about, 40 of them to be precise. Is that correct, Dave? We're at 40. And also on your IDs, there will be, on the scanner, you will be allowed to bring in 6 guests for free through the season. So when you go and scan your ID, you will be able, if you have a guest, and they'll be able to take that off your ID. We have a new guard hut down at the beach for the guards to sit there for check-in. It just makes it easier if you're, for them to check instead. If somebody brings all their stuff down, they don't have their ID, they're not supposed to be there, they're already at the top and they're not going all the way back down. Plus it gives an idea for the guards to kind of keep an eye on who's coming in and out. And when they're down in that shack, that's kind of hard to do. Let's see, where else? The task force. John will have his next meeting on the 21st, 7 p.m. and he will be meeting over at the ball field shelter. And then after that meeting, they'll go over a couple trails at the top, which they are cleaning out. We're really hoping by the next meeting that we will have a sign that will basically have a master plan of the trails. So when you go to the ball field, you can look at this, see where the trails are at. And at some point, what we're thinking is that we would actually be able to switch it out. We'd slide it in as we improve each trails, and everyone can see when the new trails have been cleared out and marked. So John is meeting on the 21st, and anybody that would like to come and help out, then we will be going over to Crystal Lake at that meeting also. Trying to clean that up. We have some trees down. and hoping to get that taken care of and get it cleared away. And we're kind of thinking that we can actually have another trail coming off of Crystal Lake. And that's right, Don, that would come down towards
Below the dam.
below the dam. Yeah.
From the Crystal Lake Dam, there is creeks, woods, and everything else virtually heading all the way to the front. So there's a lot of room to make some nice trails areas. We're also working on making it possible for people to totally hike around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there are a couple of things.
So we're working on that, and hopefully that'll be nice. I think that's it. We have opening day coming up. It's summer. Oh, yes, Julie.
The only question I have is my son has a care provider who does not live in his valley. He's an adult, but he has a care provider.
Right.
Like
a nanny pass.
Yes, can she get that, or will her?
She can, yeah, she can get the nanny pass. Is that $35, I believe, is that right, Claudia? Don't quote me on that, but yes. 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 Yep.
And I just didn't know, I mean, now, he's an adult, but he's still.
Right, no, yes, yeah. Oh, more.
Tom Cross, 1573, 1574. Last month at our annual meeting, there was a question put to you by one of the property owners about our vacuuming system at the pool.
Correct.
You said that was non-functioning. and that you were-
No, we have a vacuum system. It's just that the guards have to clean it. Everyone that works there cleans the pool with the vacuum. It's not a self vacuum. It is a manual where they actually clean it. Now, yes, you know, when you're a guard, you do have to clean. And that is, to be honest, Tom, we had not heard that. Claudia actually swims with the gal that one of the committee members is actually at the pool, and that we've never had a problem.
Well, the rest of my question was, did we not have an automatic system that cleans the pool?
Oh, we did.
That's what I'm referring to.
We did.
It was non-functional.
It is yes, no,
You
it
were
is,
saying
it
you
is
were looking-
non-existent as of right now.
Thank you. You were saying you were looking into a repair on it.
Well, we tried, and they wanted more money to fix it.
There was a cost for the repair.
Yeah.
That
Well,
would be
there was
helpful.
no guarantee. There's one person that says that this vacuum works. It is manufactured in Italy. To get the parts is ridiculous. We thought that putting more money into this system, into this vacuum, would not be cost effective. I believe they spent close to $5,000 for this vacuum anyway. So to put more money into it when it wasn't even working, by the time I started, it wasn't working. So when I got a hold of this gal, oh yeah, well, we'll make it right. So you want us to give you another $1,000 to make it right? And there's no guarantees. She couldn't even get us the system in time for the season last year. So we were down again, and Miranda thought that they could handle it, that there's no reason that the guards and everybody, instead of sitting in the guard shack, you want to swim, clean the pool. It seemed a better system than putting more money into a broken system that we didn't have any guarantees for.
In answer to the question, the automated system will remain non-functioning.
Right, as of right now, yes,
And the
yes,
lifeguards will be
yeah.
responsible for
Correct.
and that.
correct,
Thank you.
yes, yeah. And if you go and you see something, please say something to Miranda. You know, say something to the guard, and they'll say something to her, you know. Sometimes you have windy days. I mean, we had a lot of wind last season, you know, and anybody that has a pool, I mean, it just depends. I have not heard any complaints though.
What are your regards? I had the opposite experience that
always thought the water was clear, always thought it was clean on the bottom. I swam the length of the pool and the deep end of the pool, and I just thought they did a wonderful job last year. So, and I can't with this individual, so I don't know where that's coming from, to be honest with you. And if it was a busy day, one thing they could cloud the pool temporarily is send someone to rain.
Mhm.
And the filter takes care of that, but it does do it inside. So that could be the cloudy.
And you don't have that vacuum in there when people are in there anyway. That's at night. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I understand. I understand. Yeah. Mhm.
Can I just ask how old that vacuum is?
Mhm. Not old. And that was kind of my point to this gal was, she says, well, you've had it 4 seasons or something. I said, well, we're in Indiana. We're not using the system every month. You know, we're from May, at that point, it was May to August. Yeah, there was a lot of going back and forth because that was my thought is that, hey, you know, this system should be running. But I think everybody thought that for us to put all that more money back into it and not in guarantees and all the trouble we had just to get to that point, they had to send it off to Seattle to get fixed. So, and like I said, I wasn't around for the purchase of this. I don't know the ins and outs on how that all happened. And we just kind of came in late in the game.
And it wasn't just Amy that called, Dave called, Miranda called.
Mhm.
I think someone else was calling, trying to talk to this company. And it was they were in
Bad purchase would be my,
No
was
warranty.
my thought.
Any other questions?
Am I done? Thank you. See you at the pool.
Don Norris, 1379. I'm the new chair of the Safety, Security, and Elections Committee. The board members know this, but our committee has lost 3 members following the last election. 2 of them now sit here on the board. We also had our chair resign, and so I got elected to be chair. Anyway, we are attempting to get new members. We have 2 possible candidates at this time. If anyone is interested in serving on the Safety, Security, and Elections Committee, please contact me. You're welcome to come to our meetings. The nice thing is because of our workload, we only have meetings every other month. So that slows down our candidate process, but we have a workaround on that. So anyway, our committee has proposing in addition to the rules, this would be the first reading. The wording that we would like to have added is that political or issue signs that are not associated with a current election process are not permitted.
Open for discussion.
Yeah, we better do just so we can get it up open.
First.
Second.
Second, thank you, Jeff.
Tedrick, 1303. Are you gonna be able to define that?
That is political or issue signs.
When you say current,
If we have a current election process, whether it's here, national, county stuff,
is 2022 current? That's what I'm trying to understand, what's current.
good question.
There is a rule already in there for signs for elections. It's, Dave, correct me, it changed it 60 days now. It was 30 days. I thought it changed to 60 days following the state law. Yeah, so there is language in there that already covers signs for election.
Will
When
this
they can
follow
go up
that?
and when they can come down. This is regarding signs that are not around the election,
And that
that are not a candidate type sign for a
Would that be like the stop and stink sign? Is that what?
It could be one of several types of things.
I'm sorry, Steve, were you saying that rule applied to what they're doing here?
This is what the change that's requested is in addition, that rule about political signs for elections will stay in effect. This is an addition to the sign rules.
And that doesn't affect, that's not covered by the lake thing. Because you just said stuff on the lake is outside of that purview?
I didn't say anything about that. No.
I thought you said not around the lake.
No, around an election.
Oh,
Election.
If it's an election sign like for president, for, for council person, for someone on the commission, things like that, that's covered under the election. On an election sign, we follow the state guidelines on that. This is for signs of any other issue that, or political thing that is not regarding an election. Sir?
Dave Bushmiller, 2715. I guess, maybe the way I read it, I didn't see, specific clarity to a political sign having to be specifically for something that pertains to that election. I guess what I mean by that is, I know I was issued a couple warnings on a political sign in the course of an election, so when we talk about elections at that time, it coincided with our board elections. So what do we mean by elections? Any election that would pertain that someone that lives here could vote on. And then political signs, I mean, I don't know that it specifically states with clarity that it has to be a sign that pertains directly to, something that's being voted on do you see what I'm getting at? So like if you had a stop the state sign, for example, if we interpret that as being political in nature and it's displayed in parallel with an election, by definition, I think that would meet the criteria the way that it's written. So, if the political sign is wanting to be limited strictly to things that are in that election, then I think maybe the language should indicate that a little more clearly.
Can you give an example of what you're referencing? Is it like that stop the stink or
And
something?
that
what
is,
you're talking
that
about?
is one of the possible.
Any of that would be a sign that's a reference.
But
Um,
isn't there?
Pro-life, any of that, because
That's one voice at a time.
Name and lot. Name
so
and
what it
lot.
would do is any sign. So if you are pro-life and you're not, you don't have two conflicting signs together. You have everybody. As soon as somebody, just like the flags went up on the lake, what happened was somebody said something, somebody got mad, so they went crazy with it. What will happen with signs if we allow this, whether it be blue line, the red line, any of these signs? Somebody's going to oppose it. Somebody's going to put something else out. And then if you've gone up Georgetown lately and seen all the above wire line signs all the way down the road, it looks terrible. And that's what they're trying to prevent. And that's what will happen. And, and that doesn't mean you can have a blue line. And believe me, I'm all for the blue line, red line. We're all for the stop the stink. Nobody wants it. But to have the signs really, truly isn't going to make a difference other than make the community look terrible. That's just
So what your rule
mine.
says is
Hold on a
that
second,
you're not.
hold on. I think Bill was next on it.
Yeah, this isn't a reference to one sign per lot.
No.
This had nothing to do with one sign per lot.
Standing sign rules for elections.
You can still have one sign, but if the sign is not a very good sign or doesn't equal people, then we would want to talk about getting rid of that sign or not being able to put those signs on
Right.
the property.
I don't have the exact wording in front of me. We have wording that covers election signs. So election sign is for a candidate or an issue for that election. The other signs that go up basically state, other signs that go up are at the discretion to be approved by the community manager. we're trying to give that a little definition to what he can or cannot. And what kind of sign should go up. I think there's language in it, I said, you can put a graduation sign up for X number of days that you have a child or somebody graduating from college or from high school. This is to try to clarify across the board, the political or issue-based signs that they put. You know, Stop the State is one that's popping up right now. It could be pro-abortion, it could be anti-abortion, it could be Blue Lives Matter, it could be Black Lives Matter. It doesn't matter what the sign is. We're looking at signs that are just, they're not for an election. Legally, we have to allow election signs to go under our languages for that. It's to try to keep the political or issue-based rhetoric. We're not saying you can't bring your car, a bumper sticker, we're not letting that, it's what should be on the property, is what the language is not for.
Don, I think you were next.
Well, I just wanted to
And
clarify
Bonnie,
that,
and then we just-
don't we have a rule that says you're not allowed to have signs unless, other than the political process in the 30 days, you're not allowed to have signs unless approved by the property manager. We currently have that, correct? So now what is this one doing?
This is sort of taking it out of Dave's hands, where the comment being that some of this political stuff, it's getting into the putting the property manager into a bad situation. This kind of defines, we're trying to keep away from that kind of stuff in the valley and make it simpler overall for everybody to understand.
Bonnie,
Yeah,
please.
okay. Bonnie Starks, lot 2800. Don, wouldn't it be better to just have it worded that signs relating to political issues and not a candidate would not be allowed? Or you could say political or social issues?
Well, that's it, by stating political or whether it's a social issue or a political issue, that there was a lot of discussion and getting to this point.
I mean, Pray for America, is that a non-political or is that a political? But then you might have somebody say, I don't believe in God or whatever. But that's what I mean, so no signs unless you approve it by him. I mean, the wording political or non-political is, who knows?
Right.
Is pro-life a
It's an
political?
it's an issue. It's an issue. It's a political issue also.
Just to keep them informed, we're absorbing the content. Just a quick question on the language. You're asking to, you wanted to add restrictions. Are you talking about prohibitive or restricting?
It shall not be permitted.
Okay, then you're talking about
It's prohibited.
not permitted. It's not a
Not
restriction
permitted.
like I can have one, I can't have two. I'm restricted to one.
It's not
But
permitted.
this is you're prohibiting.
Right.
Okay. Perhaps, I don't know if you should say that instead of restriction. It could be viewed as I just stated.
Okay, one more, Dave.
This is not the rule you try to put in place. I'd like to see what the verbiage is of your rule, like he's saying. Such and such signs are prohibited, or only such and such signs are allowed. It needs to be clarified so that you don't have the ambiguity that is in this sentence. This doesn't seem to me like it's verbiage for a rule.
So that's the second time that's come up, so we're gonna need to clean up what we made about, I suggested that we should the current rule stated clearly, and then the recommendation. I think we'll play what we've done. Thank you. Probably jumping real quick, I think what was put on the agenda was basically a paraphrase, what you read was the proposed language, not what was put on the
Yeah.
agenda was not adequate.
What our proposed rule is political or issue signs that are not associated with a current election process are not permitted, period.
We have an online question that we'll take and then we'll try. Can you read it?
Yeah, the online question says, I think the restriction should be applied to flags also.
It's gonna move from the sign to the house.
Yeah, and the other one says, yeah, what about political flags? I could see candidate flags from the 2020 election being displayed.
This is not what this is addressing. Is the answer to that. Duly noted of the concern.
Okay.
Yeah.
John, I just want to make sure I understand. We have our sign rules. If you are a candidate running a primary, a general election, a board election, you have this window where a resident can put a sign out. But what you're proposing says that even since sadly everything in our world is political anymore, up to what you drink, whatever what you like, but that if there is an issue you feel strongly about and there are candidates in that election cycle, you can't put that issue sign
Yeah,
up during that window, in other words, the November election. And there are some maybe issues on the ballot. There are hot button issues that candidates have positions on. Can I put a sign in my front yard that says, I back the blue?
It is associated with an election,
Okay.
and so it would be
So it would
permitted.
be permitted. So
Correct.
essentially, what you're saying is the same rules that govern candidate signs govern.
Yes.
these. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions on that?
Very good. So if we have a motion to move forward on this first reading,
We have a motion for the first reading.
thanks, Joe. Second, Dave.
You know, they really are. They from
They
the
will.
bottom.
You do not want, yeah.
A vote on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. We'll go to a second reading with all the comments well received.
All right. One other item, and because we are getting into the season and talk about it here, our committee has put together an article concerning fireworks. This originally started last fall, if I remember right, when a resident attended one of our committee meetings and complained about some fireworks use that they questioned whether it was permitted or not. Our committee studied what the law says in Indiana and then took it further by getting into finding safety information, also information on some of the negative effects on fireworks, and essentially making sure everybody understands how to do it safely, what not to do, and what the ramifications can be if you do it improperly. And that article is in the current Echoes, which I believe we all got a copy of the issue today. In addition, it will be in the next Echoes also, just before the 4th of July. So I encourage everyone to read it and, do your best to follow all the safety rules and read through it thoroughly, because there's some shocking information as to some of the side effects of improper fireworks use. I have to say that I definitely, as a child, probably violated most, if not all of those rules. So
Are you still violating?
no. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Don.
All right, Denise, thank you for waiting.
And it's gonna be short and sweet. So,
Civic Club report.
Denise, lot 19, 30, and 31, Civic Club President. The only thing I have today is June 12th will be our first adult swim party. It will start at 8 till midnight. Hopefully the weather is better. July 17th will be our annual lake float. That will start at 3 p.m. That is really all we have right now. Other than we do need volunteers for our Labor Day Bash.
Fast.
Labor Day Bash.
Any
That's it.
any questions?
He's gone. He's going over to Steve.
I'm sorry, Ted Driftmark, 1303. Thank you. Do you have glass bottles of these?
Oh, no, at the pool? No. No. We make sure, we've had people come in with wine and we send them right back out to their car. They go out, they fill up a cup, and they come back in. Absolutely not. That's a no-no for anybody. I mean, you're welcome. Yeah, that, same rule at the beach, yes.
Anyone else? Okay, Denise, thank you. That was easy. All right, any old business? Any new business? Yes, sir.
Yes, Phil, lot 2730. It's recently come to my attention that there may be a potential problem that we should probably address before it becomes one, if it does. And that is, it appears that there are some developers that are working on low budgets that want to buy up remaining properties around our community. Maybe that they may be able to purchase cheaply and put on small, cheaply built houses to not to sell, not to live in, but to rent out to make money. And I can see that as a potential problem. We don't allow Airbnbs in our area because of the fact that people staying in those aren't members of communities, not familiar with rules. If we start renting out inexpensive places to people who are not community members, I can see a potential for problems. And I'm not saying that there is a problem, but I can see that there is a potential there.
Yeah, it's been brought to our attention and we're paying close attention to that.
Any other comments or concerns on that beyond what's been stated? Okay, thank you. This is like checkered flag, 8,500, right? 2.5 hours.
No, it's like hitting the wall.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I will.
First, second, you guys finished strong. Thank you, everybody. Have a great holiday.
There you go.